life. Life is like a video game, and I can prove it to you with my little Elden Ring world. Whereas, when most people think about life, they just tell themselves that we were born, this is reality, and this is a video game. It's just for entertainment purposes, but it's really not. When you think about life, what comes to mind, per se? There are a lot of concepts that come to mind about life, but one I think I've come to understand quite literally in an aspect of itself is that life is like a video game. And when we talk about life, you know, you just get randomly spawned in a world where you're not even sure what you're supposed to do with that life, right? It's kind of like this game. Now, whereas this game kind of does have a tutorial phase, the tutorial isn't necessarily going to tell you what to do in this game or how to navigate this game world. It just throws you in there, tells you that there's a bunch of people you can hit, a bunch of people you can fight, and that's pretty much it. And when you think about your life, you come to a sense where as you have no purpose or you have a greater purpose. And if you think about your purposes, a lot goes on in your mind. Some people get overwhelmed by the thought. Some people enjoy the thought of not being able to know what's going on. Whereas in Elden Ring, they throw you in the game world. They tell you this is how you fight people. Go figure it out. Right? And in reality, we don't necessarily think about that a lot. But if you do technically think about it, you get thrown in this world and you're told there's a bunch of people you can fight, and that's all you gotta do. Because now, if you were playing this game without any guides, you would understand that what? Elden Ring isn't so bad because it comes with guides and communities that help you grow as a person. Whereas in real life, such things do exist in real life, but those are necessarily hard to find. And since they are hard to find, you would think to yourself that you're failing at life, and you aren't as a person. You live to around 70 years old, 100 years old if you're extremely healthy and lucky. And you get this sense that you're moving through a game hell world that you're not even sure what you're doing in. And it's kind of like Elden Ring. Elden Ring throws you in, you don't know what you're doing. The first person you meet is White Mask Va, who technically does give you a quest, which, to be fair, that is essentially what life does also. It gives you quests. From childhood they give you quests. You're born, you're a little one, you grow to a certain age, and then you get a quest. Right, time for preschool. And then you continue that quest, you continue running along with that quest. You keep going, you keep going, you keep going. You start to see a bit of the world, you start to see a bit of the beauty of the world, the horrors of it, until you get to a stage where now you have to get a job. This is a new quest, right? I'm not going to say that the job is the quest per se, but I'm going to say how you move through life is the quest. You get the job, right? You start looking for the job. That's a quest in and all itself. You get the job. Now you have to wake up every single morning and show up at the job. That is also a quest. You have to do the job. That's a quest. And then you get the quest rewards at the end of the month, right? Whereas with a video game, you get the quest, probably takes you maybe 30 minutes or an hour or two, you know, and you get the rewards at the end. Isn't that kind of similar to how real life operates, you know? Games and life. There are a lot of comparisons that people make between the two, and most people would think that one is fake. I mean, yes, one might be fake for all we know, you know. It's kind of like us. We are not sure whose characters we are, who's holding the joystick to our lives, you know. You just spawn in this world and you're a main character. You have to look at it from your own perspective. You spawn in the world and you're a main character, right? That's the interesting part. Game characters spawn in their worlds and they are technically the main character most of the time. It's only a rare case where you are a side character. And when you are the main character of your life, would you know who's pulling the strings of your life? No, you wouldn't. But you would know that there's. It's a very difficult concept to explain, you know. But the more I think on it, the more I come to the realization that if you were to think of your subconscious is the player, the person behind the controller, you know. And the person behind the controller is the one who has to make the decisions. So, when you get overwhelmed, when you have a lot of thoughts, you know, when you overanalyze things, it's kind of similar to how in a game you would recognize patterns, you know. Everything in life has a pattern as well. So, you would recognize patterns and then you would get used to them, right? So real life is practically the same, you know. You just get random patterns out there. The patterns with certain people. You meet different people, you know. You do different things. You go through various stages, and every single stage has a pattern that is specifically designated for the character, and you are the character. Now you as the character, you have to learn how to be conscious with your thoughts and analyze what kind of patterns life was throwing at you at the current moment, you know. It's kind of like this game. In this game, you don't just go around beating people up, you know. You have to learn things. You have to learn to build things. You have to learn to do things. You have to learn how to fight properly, because now you can't just go in there and start beating everybody up and think you're not gonna die, you know. But you have to fail, you know. You have to hit that you died stage, you know. You have to hit that mission failed, you know, and then you come back stronger than before. Kind of like life, you know. You make mistakes. You can't let your mistakes shape who you are. You know, your mistakes and failures, you can't let them shape who you are. You are who you are, and you can do what you can do based on what you've learned from your mistakes or failures, which is why pattern recognition comes into play. You come in, you make a fail, you sort of figure out one pattern, maybe, or two, depending on how skilled you are or how perceptive you are, and you know, things start to get better and better, little by little, pattern by pattern, you know. So when I say life is like a video game, I mean that in a literal sense. We are in the real world, whereas this is our world, you know. You have to get up, go to work, you have to get up, go to school, you are born, you know, or you run a business, or you do other things with your life. Whereas in the game world, Sometimes your destiny is set for you, or sometimes it isn't. Which is why I decided to use Elden Ring as the best example. Elden Ring does have a shaped destiny for you, but the fact that they do not tell you what your destiny is until later in the game means that you are not failing, which is also kind of like real life, you know. You're not failing. You just haven't realized what your destiny is yet. And eventually it will come to you. Eventually. It always does. You know, it always does. Most people think that they just want to be wealthy, they want to be successful, they want to have millions, you know. And if you think about it perfectly, not everyone is going to make millions, not everyone is going to be wealthy and successful. But everyone can make a living and be happy and have a good life if they pay attention to the patterns that run their lives, the patterns that run their societies, the patterns that run their communities, the patterns that run pretty much everything in real life. And so, with that, I hope you have taken this lesson that you are not failing, you are not stuck, you know. You just have to analyze certain patterns. Don't overthink it, you know. Don't overthink it, because if you overthink it, it's not gonna, it's probably not gonna make sense, and you're gonna overcomplicate things for yourself. But again, just have to be patient, you know. Try and try and try again, and fail. Embrace failure. It's actually a life-changing thing to embrace failure, you know. So with that, I hope your takeaway from this is that life is generally a downpour of patterns, and you know, just try to enjoy every moment of it, you know. And failures or not, success or not, just try to enjoy every single moment of it, you know. It's kind of like a video game. You get in there, sometimes you fail, you fail, and yet somehow you still find yourself going back to try and try again because you're enjoying it. So you have to learn how to enjoy embracing your failures, you know. But anyway, that's all from me today. Hope you guys enjoy your weekend and your lives, and have a great day.